Last night, I made a choice I can't take back, a choice that brought everything crashing down around me. I stood in the middle of our living room, heart pounding in my chest, and decided to speak a truth I'd been swallowing for far too long. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, least of all her, but the words came out with a raw force that left no space for retraction. The moment they escaped my lips, I knew things would never be the same. A heavy silence settled over us, louder than any argument. For months, maybe even years, I had carried the weight of secrets and frustrations, afraid that the truth would tear our fragile peace apart. My intention was never to inflict pain, but rather to free myself from the suffocating grip of dishonesty. Yet the aftermath was far more brutal than I could have anticipated. As soon as I said what I did, I watched the horror take shape in her eyes. Shock, then anger, then the kind of deep hurt that leaves an indelible mark on a person's soul. A storm of emotions crashed inside me. Guilt gnawed at my stomach, and yet a strange undercurrent of relief fluttered in my chest. I felt unburdened by the lie I'd been living. For the first time in a long while, I wasn't concealing my frustration behind half-hearted smiles and polite nods. But if I thought honesty would bring catharsis or clarity, I quickly discovered that some truths come at too high a cost. In that charged instant, whatever bond we had left shattered. I found myself out on the street not long after, with nothing but the clothes on my back. The door slammed behind me, and I heard the deadbolt click. My life condensed into the chill of the night air and the quiet realization that I had no home to return to. Was I foolish to have spoken so bluntly? Or had I finally done something that needed to be done a long time ago? It's difficult to know. Regret and freedom mingled in a strange dance, each vying for dominance in my thoughts. What exactly did I say to cause all this wreckage? In the heat of an argument, one of those cyclical battles where old wounds are reopened, I let slip the one thing I'd always promised myself I would never voice. I told her she had been my biggest mistake, a regret I'd carried with me. The words erupted from my mouth like a torrent, fueled by pent-up resentment. The moment they formed in the air, I wanted to snatch them back, but it was too late. She looked at me as though I'd driven a knife through her heart. In fairness, it wasn't only my frustration that caused this. She had been hurling her own accusations, stoking resentments, and using every sharp edge in her arsenal to wear me down. But what she said to me is almost irrelevant now. All the blame and counter blame pales in comparison to the damage I caused with that one line. It felt like the final straw in a long, painful story we had been writing for too many years. Our relationship had been hanging by a thread. I cut it clean through. Sometimes I lie awake at night, now in a small rented room I managed to secure with the last bit of cash in my wallet, and wonder how we ended up here. Was there a kinder, more measured way to express how I felt? Could we have talked through our issues piece by piece, day by day, without letting them erupt in an explosive confrontation? I'll never know, because we charged straight into disaster, and in doing so, I lost my home, my sense of security, and the person I once thought I'd share a lifetime with. Yet, strangely, there is a sliver of solace in no longer hiding. Wearing a mask for so long had drained me. Pretending everything was fine when it wasn't had become second nature. Smiling when I wanted to scream, nodding in agreement when resentment was eating me alive from the inside. While my confession devastated what was left of our bond, it also liberated me from the silent suffering I had endured. Freedom, however, came with a hefty price. Isolation, regret, and the pressing need to figure out my next steps in life. Amid this chaos, the practical issue of my finances looms. I suddenly have to worry about a roof over my head and how to keep myself afloat when my entire world has just caved in. In a strange twist of fate, the very act of being cast out of my comfort zone might be what propels me to make changes I'd never have dared to consider before. The cards, if you believe in them, seem to indicate it's time to release my fear of stepping into the unknown. They point to a path of financial abundance that begins with letting go of the safety nets and illusions that have held me back. For some people, the fear of leaving what's familiar can be paralyzing, and I've certainly felt that paralysis. But now that I've been forced into a new reality, there's an odd sense of possibility stretching out before me. Could this be my chance to find work or a career that aligns more authentically with who I've become? Perhaps I'll revisit the passions I once shelved for the sake of stability, a stability that turned out to be more fragile than I ever imagined. These changes won't be easy. My mind keeps replaying old tapes, the disapproval of friends and family, the nagging doubts that tell me my dreams are too grand or impractical. But I'm starting to realize that carrying other people's expectations is a chain that keeps you tethered to places you've outgrown. If there's a bright side to having everything fall apart, it's the clarity that no one else can define my life for me. I have to learn to trust my own instincts, to trust that abundance, financial or otherwise, flows more readily when you aren't living a lie. The cards also speak of stepping into teaching or pursuing new skills, possibly a hint that the old paths I clung to are no longer the right fit. This resonates with me. There's a part of me that's always wanted to help others, to share what I know in a way that might inspire someone else. For years, though, I dismissed it as impractical. Life has a habit of keeping us bound to practicality, especially when we're afraid of rocking the boat. But my boat is already capsized. Perhaps it's time to build a new one. Every step forward now is an act of courage. When you lose the old coordinates of your life, you're forced to rely on an internal compass. That inner compass might be intuition, passion, or some yet undiscovered talent. Each attempt to move in a new direction feels risky, but it's also exhilarating in a way I hadn't expected. There's something oddly liberating about having so little to lose. I can try and fail without the same terror that once kept me rooted in place. After all, I've already crashed through my worst fears, losing everything I thought I knew. I don't deny the pain. Late at night, the regret is still powerful. I replay the argument, the brutal honesty, and wonder whether a gentler approach could have salvaged something between us. But I also realize that perhaps we were too far gone, that our relationship had become an arena of unspoken resentments waiting to ignite. My words merely struck the match, but the tinder had been piling up for years. Now, my path is one of rebuilding, emotionally, financially, and spiritually. I've started mapping out what I need to do, applying for jobs, connecting with potential mentors, and learning new skills that might lead to the stable foundation I've always longed for. If there's one lesson to carry from this, it's that honesty, while destructive when wielded recklessly, can also pave the way to transformation. It strips away everything false and leaves you standing there, raw but real. In the end, I must believe there is value in truth, even the hard truths. Because once you stand in that unvarnished reality, you have a clearer sense of who you are and what you must do next. Perhaps I can rebuild a life that's grounded in authenticity instead of pretense. Maybe, in time, I'll come to see that heartbreak was the catalyst I needed to break free from a world that wasn't truly mine. Even as I grapple with regret, I hold on to hope that I can turn this moment of devastation into a new start, and that the next chapter of my life, however unexpected, will bring the financial abundance, emotional clarity, and genuine happiness I never quite found before.